Hey guys, what's up? um, Another DIY how-to video. How to remove the brass fitting or tap out of a propane tank, or how to recycle a propane tank. So, these ones with I really like these ones. These are the older ones with the aluminum tap. The older ones, when you open them up like that, they'll piss out. But the more modern ones have a safety. They have a safety valve in there, so you can open it up, but the gas won't come out. The only way the gas will come out is if you screw a regulator into there, like a barbecue regulator, or you can use a screwdriver or something that would stick in there and press. There's a valve in there, and if you press in on the safety valve, the gas will come out. So always check if there's any gas in there, because you don't want to take the tap out and have a bunch of propane evacuate in your face. Trust me, you don't want that. Ask me how I know. Anyway, so these ones here are they're pretty easy, because you just open it and make sure that they're empty. And they have aluminum tap handle, which I really like because they're easy, super easy to remove, whether they have a screw in the top or not. This one has a flat screw. You stay here, Ryder. Sorry, I was just talking to my dog. Anyway, now there's a couple of different ways you can go about removing that, but I'm going to show you the way I do it. I made that, and that's a 3/4 inch impact gun, pneumatic, and I've got about between 100 and 150 psi. And what I did was I took an extension. That was a 3/4 inch extension. So I just took a 3/4 inch extension, or an old socket or whatever, something that'll fit on your gun. Like that. So anyway, I was looking at the shape of this, and I was looking at other sockets that people have made for doing this, and I sort of came up with my own. I just made this out of scrap. And then what it was a nice rectangular tube there, and I think I measured it once before. I can't remember the exact size. I think it's 1x2, but I'm not sure exactly, or somewhere around there. I have to measure the tubing, but you can use square tube, round tube, rectangular tube, as long as it fits over there. And but it still has to hit. It still has to grab the piece of brass. This one here, I had to reinforce it a couple times, or I had to get it reinforced a couple times, because I've done a lot of tanks with this. I think I've recycled probably between 100 and 200 tanks and valves. So these here, I recycle them for brass, and I clean them up the best I can, and I get a brass price by the pound. And they're pretty heavy. Each one weighs there's probably about a pound in each one. When you get them out, they're pretty thick. Maybe not quite a pound, but pretty close to a pound. So the reason why I like these aluminum tap ones is because they're super, super easy to remove. Let me show you. Now, if that tap was made out of steel, if you strike it, you might cause a spark. But that's not made of steel. that's made out of cast aluminum or die cast or something like that. I think they're cast aluminum. As you can see here, I've already recycled a few in this spot. So I use a hammer. You can once I get going, like if I'm not holding the camera and once I get going, I go beast mode on these things. And a guy with a screwdriver or whatever you need to take those out, he might take a while taking them all out. And me, when I go at this, it's hard to do it holding the camera and talking and everything, but when I get going on these, they come off real quick. Now, like I said, if you strike steel, you might cause a spark. So always be safe, be careful. And yeah, if you're gonna try something like this, make sure you're safe. You might want to wear eye protection and ear protection. Safety first. You see that? I did that in one strike. One strike. And the screw comes out. The screw is made of steel. So you want the brass to be clean. There can't be very much steel in it at all. Or it can't be any steel on it if you're going to recycle it for clean brass. Because I get money. I get money for recycling them. Not very much. It's probably like 75 cents a pound, or depends on what type of brass you have and everything else, and what the prices are, because prices fluctuate just like the stock market. But you're gonna get at least 75 cents a pound for the brass, and now it's clean because the aluminum is gone, the steel is gone. And aluminum and steel contaminate brass. So anyway, one strike. Now if I was in a hurry, if I wanted to do a bunch of these, just bang, done, bang, done, bang, done. So anyway, that's the first step. Now I built this. There's two different, it only fits one way. You can tell it's worn, it's been hit pretty hard there. But anyway, you can see it's been rounded there. Like I said, I've done probably 200, maybe 150 brass valves with this, and I'm hitting it with a really big gun. So you want it to be strong. If you build a tool or a socket, you want it to be very strong. Now I made it so it fits one way. Some people strap these tanks down and they hold them tight and they turn it with a bar or a wrench. With the impact gun, alright, I had to set my camera up because I can't hold everything, and yeah, anyway. Once you make sure the tank is safely evacuated, no propane in it, and no pressure in it, that's what I mean, and the valve handle is removed, then this is the way I do it. I put the socket on after this. Make sure you got lots of air pressure in your compressor. There's a little bit of slop there because it's worn, the socket's worn from being abused, but I hold it to the counterclockwise to make sure that it's not going to rattle or I don't lose any impact. And then I can hold the tank with my wrist or set my wrist on the tank, plus I can help the socket stay counterclockwise because I don't want it rattling, and I want to make sure it hits the socket rather than a loose spot. So there it is. It's pretty heavy. Almost a pound. Each one is almost a pound. So you get a few of those, and they're worth a little bit for recycling. They're worth a little bit of money for scrap. And the tank is now recyclable. It's hard to recycle a tank when it's closed and it may contain propane. A lot of people don't want them at all to recycle because they can be possibly dangerous. But once they've been split open like this, you can crush them, cut them in half, whatever you need to do, and it makes them easier to recycle, and people will take them easier. because most steel is worth money for recycling, but they won't pay you for propane tanks if you try to recycle them when they're closed or pressurized or who knows. So if you have them split open or cut in half or whatever, just be careful, because you can evacuate propane under high pressure, which can hurt you. You can blow yourself up if you're making sparks. These are cool. You can make stuff out of them too. If you just want to take the brass tap out and make a little wood stove out of it, or make a air pig. A lot of people use them for air tank. Now it's easier to do. You might even be able to make an air tank out of it by leaving a brass tap in there, but this is how I take them out. And then the tanks are actually recyclable. Alright, so I think I figured out what I'm going to use for the bell or the heat exchanger for the rocket mass heater I'm working on right now. And I found a few propane tanks. These are 100-pound propane tanks. But I wanted one that was around 14 inches in diameter. So this one here is as close as I can get. I think it's like 14 and a half or 14 and a quarter or something like that. It's pretty close. It's just a hair bigger, but the other ones that I found, they're even bigger than that. They're about 14 and a half, 15. So it's hard to make a straight line on a curved surface like this, but I went, oh, just stepped on the airline. Anyway, there's a weld here all the way around, so I measured from the weld and I made a dot. And I did that all the way around the tank. And then I just played connect the dots with this here. This is flexible, but it has nice straight lines on it. So I just laid it across and I flexed it, curved it, and I just played connect the dots, and I drew a line on the edge there. So that should get me pretty close to a straight edge, or get me started anyway. Now, before you cut into a propane tank, you want to make sure it's safely evacuated, and you want to remove this here. So what I did, I have a socket and a gun when I use the 3/4 inch impact gun. So I couldn't find my socket. So what I did, I put a wrench on here. I think it's a little bit sloppy, but it's 1.25 inches. And I put that on there, and I hit it with a hammer. I hit it downward or counterclockwise. So after I broke it loose with the initial impact of the hammer, I just turned it out with the wrench. Now these ones here, you can evacuate them just by opening the valve, because it's a really old tank, really old style. So it was already evacuated. It was already open. It's probably been sitting around for years, and you can fill these up with water to get all the displacement and displace all of the whatever might be in there, air or propane or whatever. But since it's been open for years, I'm just gonna stick a hose in there and blow out. I don't think there's any propane in there, any gas or any explosive gas in there. But if it was a recently used tank, I'd probably fill it up with water just to completely displace all the air inside or whatever else might be in there. So if you fill it up with water, or after you fill it up with water, and turn it upside down and drain all the water out, then you can go ahead and cut into it, or once you feel it's safe to cut into it, and once you've got everything evacuated safely. Most of these old recycled tanks are going to be empty anyway, but you want to make sure that there's absolutely nothing in there. And I'm going to use a cutoff wheel on a 4.5 inch angle grinder, and I'm just going to cut into it and try to keep the line as straight as possible. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's what I'm going to do. And the bottom half is going to be the part that I use. So I'm going to use it upside down, and the bottom is going to be the top. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get something done. Hi, buddy. Hey, tail waggers. Do you approve? My supervisor here. His tail's wagging, so I think he approves. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get something done here.